No, I don't think it perpetuates any single myth. I think it could perpetuate a lot of myths. In fact, if the New Democrats were coming up in the polls, as many believe they are right now, quite the opposite. I mean, it will probably exaggerate the kind of support the NDP have because more people will be covering them. They're covering what Jack Layton is doing now in Quebec in a way that they never would have, absent polls that said that he's actually got some tailwinds behind him there right now. I think we just have to use polls as they were meant to be used. The pollster is not all-knowing. The pollster is not a clairvoyant. We can't predict things in the future that are going to happen based on polls. That's not what polls are ever designed for. They're designed for a snapshot in the moment to reflect only the question that was asked. And so when we ask, if election was held tomorrow, how would you vote? And the Conservatives go down 2 points, and we say, oh, it's the ODA effect. That's just bull, quite frankly, because if we haven't tested the ODA effect and been able to factor it in very precisely and correlate it with that 2% decline, we're just speculating. And if we're doing that, what we're doing is that we're taking a population that otherwise, if they didn't have polls, would be uninformed and making them misinformed, and that's irresponsible.
Polls become even more distorted.
Yeah, as voter turnout goes down, the polls are tougher and tougher to analyze. So, for example, I mean, the most unreliable polling always is municipal polling because turnout rates are around 30%. So if I'm doing a random probability sample, 70% of the opinion I'm gathering is really immaterial because these are non-voters. And being able to ferret out a voter from a non-voter, as I mentioned earlier, is a very, very difficult task. So yes, turnout has an additionally influencing effect on the accuracy, the end of the day accuracy. Historically, what we've done is when we have undecideds, usually people who are undecided to the question if election happened tomorrow, how would you vote, are undecided about everything. They'd be undecided about whether today is Friday or not. So what we've done quite successfully and historically is we factored them out and proportioned them proportional to the decided vote because they're non-voters. When you get a and undecided rates usually around 10-12%, but when your non-voting population becomes 40%, as it has been in the 2008 election, 42%, that we have a much bigger problem on our hands. Well, if the average person is truly interested in polls, they should go and read Survey Methodology 101 textbook, or even go to Wikipedia and say, polling, sampling, margins of error, in order to understand a little bit of this and have the capacity to read the polls a little bit more critically. The first people who should follow that advice are journalists, many of whom have no idea whatsoever. I mean, for example, the fact that you have a lot of the pollsters reporting numbers down to the first decimal point is crazy. The discipline by definition is not precise enough to do that. So you've got one of two things going on. Either people are stupid and don't understand the limits of polling, or they're deceitful. They're trying to make out that they have a precision that clearly they do not have.